The hall glittered like heaven had come down to earth. Golden chandeliers sparkled, cameras flashed, violins played softly. Every guest sat on the edge of their seat, waiting to witness what had been called the wedding of the century. The priest lifted his Bible and spoke in a solemn tone, his voice echoing across the grand hall. "Do you take this man as your beloved husband? Till death do you part?" All eyes turned to the bride. She looked like a dream in white lace, her smile trembling with joy. Her lips parted. Everyone leaned forward, ready to hear the sacred yes. But before the word could escape, a sound broke the air. Heels. 6 pairs of heels. Click, click, click. From the middle of the crowd, 6 breathtaking women rose in unison. They didn't walk. They marched, their gowns sweeping like queens, their eyes burning with fire. Gasps exploded across the hall. The bride's smile froze. The groom's throat went dry. And then it happened. The 6 voices thundered together, filling the hall to silence. "Yes, we do." The priest's Bible slipped from his hands and hit the floor with a heavy thud. A child in the crowd screamed. The bride's knees almost gave way. One woman stepped forward, her voice trembling with both anger and sarcasm. "Oh, please don't look so surprised, darling bride. You're not the only princess in this fairy tale. He proposed to each of us too. Yes, our beloved Prince Charming." Laughter of disbelief rippled in the crowd, mixed with whispers. "What is going on? Is this a joke?" Another woman raised her left hand, a massive diamond ring glittering under the light. Tears stained her face. "Recognize this? He gave me this ring. Same words, same promises. He swore I was his one and only. I was stupid enough to believe him." The bride clutched her chest, shaking her head in horror. A third woman shouted bitterly, her voice slicing through the hall. "He dated us one by one. We are not just ordinary women. We are billionaires. He wanted our wealth, our hearts, our lives, and we gave it all, only for him to vanish like a thief in the night." The guests gasped louder. Some stood, others covered their mouths. The bride's mother fainted in her chair. The father of the bride slammed his fist on the table. Reporters pushed forward with cameras flashing. Security men rushed, but froze, unsure who to drag out. Was it the groom or his mysterious brides-to-be? The hall turned into chaos. The bride's tears rolled freely, blurring her vision. She turned to her groom, her voice breaking. "Tell me it's not true. Please tell me." But the groom's face was pale, sweat dripping like melting ice. His lips moved, but no words came. His eyes darted from one woman to the next, 6 ghosts from his past standing like judges in a courtroom. One of them laughed bitterly through her tears, sarcasm dripping from every word. "Look at him, our Romeo, our gentleman, now struck dumb like a broken radio. What's wrong, darling? Cat got your tongue?" The crowd roared with gasps, laughter, and anger. The bride's sobs grew louder. Her wedding dress, once a gown of joy, now felt like chains of shame. And then the final blow. The last woman stepped forward. She pulled out a photo from her purse and raised it high. The picture showed her and the groom wrapped in each other's arms, smiling as if the world belonged to them. Her voice shook with rage and heartbreak. He promised me forever. He told me I was his only bride, but today I see I was just one chapter in his book of lies. The groom's knees buckled. His legs gave way. With a heavy crash, he fell flat on the altar, fainted cold before the priest, the bride, and the world. The hall erupted in screams, cries, and flashes. The wedding of the century had just been destroyed, and the scandal of the decade had been born.
The groom's body lay flat on the altar, stiff as stone. Guests shouted in panic. Others craned their necks, desperate to see. Cameras flashed wildly. The bride screamed, her voice echoing through the hall. "Collins! Collins, wake up! Please, don't do this to me! Don't die on me today!" Her white gown swept the floor as she collapsed beside him, shaking his shoulders, her tears staining his suit. From the other side, Collins's mother broke through the crowd, her gele tilted, her face drenched in sweat. She knelt beside her son, slapping his cheeks lightly. "Collins, get up, my son! This is your wedding day! Don't let enemies laugh at us! Please, wake up!" The air was thick with fear and confusion, until suddenly, one of the 6 women snatched a bottle of water from a nearby table. Her heels clacked hard as she stormed to the altar, her eyes blazing like fire. She raised the bottle high, her voice cutting through the noise. "Stop the drama! Stop the pretense! Get up, Collins! Get up and tell the world who you truly are!" Before anyone could stop her, she uncapped the bottle and poured the cold water across his face. The entire hall gasped. Collins jolted, his body shivering as the water drenched his hair and suit. He cursed, blinked rapidly, then slowly pushed himself up, straight onto his knees before everyone. His lips trembled. His eyes darted like a trapped animal. Finally, his voice cracked, raw with fear. "Please, don't do this to me. Please, I'm sorry. I beg you. Don't destroy me like this. Forgive me." The bride froze. Her eyes widened with disbelief. "Sorry?" she whispered, her voice shaking, then louder, broken, almost hysterical. "Sorry? Collins, is that all you have to say? I thought they were lying. I thought you want to tell me they are joking." Her words cut through the hall like a knife. The 6 women erupted, shouting all at once. One screamed, "Sorry doesn't buy back my wasted years." Another spat bitterly, "Sorry won't return the millions you drained from me." A third sneered with sarcasm. "Oh, listen to him. Our sweet lover boy, now crying like a choir boy. Sorry? Keep it, Collins. We don't need it." The bride's tears poured harder. She looked at her ring, her trembling fingers trying to pull it off, but her hands were too weak. She turned slowly to the guests, her voice hollow, shaking, but loud enough for all to hear. I trusted him. I defended him when people warned me. I believed every sweet lie he whispered. And now I see I was nothing but another fool in his collection." Gasps and murmurs filled the hall. Her father rose from his seat, his face red with fury, veins swelling in his neck. "This is an abomination! This man has disgraced my family in front of the world! Collins, you will pay for this humiliation with your blood if you dare call yourself a man!" The hall went deadly silent, all eyes locked on the trembling groom, still kneeling, his lips whispering the same broken word. "Sorry, sorry, sorry." The bride fell to the floor, clutching her veil, sobbing uncontrollably. Her voice cracked like glass. I thought today would be the happiest day of my life, but it has become the funeral of my heart. One of the women knelt beside her, hugging her tightly, whispering, "You are not alone. He fooled all of us. But today his mask is off." The groom's shoulders shook. Tears ran down his face. He stretched his hand toward the bride, begging, "Please, don't leave me. Forgive me. I'll change. I'll make it right." But her eyes, red, swollen, drowned in tears, looked at him with pure disgust. "No, Collins. You can never change. You don't deserve me. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve anything." The crowd erupted again, some crying, some clapping, some shouting curses at the groom. And right there, in front of the priest, the crowd, and the cameras, the bride tore the veil from her head and flung it at him. Her voice rang out, broken but powerful. "This wedding is over." The hall shook with gasps, screams, and chaos. Collins slumped to the floor, his face buried in shame. But before the bride could walk away, one of the women stepped forward. Tall, elegant, her eyes glistening with fury. She stretched her hand toward the bride. "Oh no, darling. You don't get to just walk out on us like that. After all, it's your big day, isn't it? Let the world know the truth. Let me tell you my story." The hall went silent. Even the bride froze, her tears drying in shock. The woman's voice shook at first, but then it grew stronger. "My name is Pauline. I am the owner of Mendez Corporation." A ripple of whisper ran through the guests. Mendez Corporation. Heads turned. Everyone knew the name. Pauline lifted her chin, staring at Collins with bitter smile. "I met this man by accident. My car broke down one lonely evening on a deserted road. Out of nowhere he appeared, gentle, polite, like a guardian angel. He fixed my car with his bare hands. I thought God had sent me a man of honor." She paused, her lips trembling, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We became friends. Slowly, he crept into my heart. On my birthday that year, he went down on one knee with roses and candles and proposed. I said yes. I believed my fairy tale had begun." The bride's tears flowed again. The hall was still as death. Pauline's voice suddenly cracked with anger. "Then one night he called me, sounding desperate. He said his container was seized at the port. He swore his entire business was on the line. He begged me, Pauline, for help. Millions, he said, just millions, and he would be free." She shook her head bitterly, pointing her finger at Collins. "And like a fool, I gave him everything. Every last dime he asked for. I thought I was saving my fiancé, the man I trusted. But it was a lie. He took my money and he vanished. Disappeared without a trace." Her voice broke into sobs. I didn't know I was engaged to a scam." The crowd gasped again, louder this time. A woman in the audience burst into tears, covering her face. Men shook their heads in disgust. Pauline turned to the bride, her voice heavy with sarcasm. "So, my dear, you see? You are not the only one wearing white. We all wore the gown of shame before you. He only gave you the crown of disgrace to complete the circle." The bride collapsed into her seat, wailing. Her father roared in anger, slamming his hand on the altar. Collins trembled violently, still kneeling, his face wet with tears and sweat. His lips moved, but all that came out was the same broken whisper. I'm sorry. Pauline, please forgive me." But Pauline spat on the floor, her voice slicing through the halls. Sorry won't buy back my years. Sorry won't return my stolen dignity. Collins, you are not a man. You are a curse in a suit. The hall erupted again. Shouts, gasps, curses flying in every direction. Then, slowly, another woman stepped forward. She was slimmer, graceful, and her tears carried a softer kind of pain. She sighed, brushing her hair from her face, and looked at Pauline. Pauline, yours is better. At least he only stole your money. The crowd gasped. The bride turned, her heart pounding harder. Vanessa lifted her eyes, her voice calm but soaked with sorrow. My name is Vanessa, and Collins, he lied to me too. He lied with the kind of sweetness that could make even poison taste like honey. He didn't just promise me marriage. He even met my parents. He told them he would build a life with me, take care of me forever. My father called him the son we prayed for. My mother blessed him. We trusted him. The bride covered her mouth, shaking her head violently. Vanessa's lips trembled, but she forced a weak smile, one that broke the hearts of everyone watching. One day, I told him I was pregnant. And do you know what he did? He was happy. He was excited. He even kissed me and said, finally, I'm going to be a father. We went out that night for a special dinner. Candles, wine, laughter. I thought my dreams were real. Her voice dropped suddenly, sharp with pain. But the very next day, he disappeared. Gasps filled the air again. Guests shouted in disbelief. Someone in the back cried out, Jesus, have mercy. Vanessa's eyes glistened with bitter tears. He vanished. No calls, no visits, nothing. I waited. Days, weeks, months, carrying his child alone, carrying his shame alone. And the man who celebrated me yesterday turned into a ghost the next morning. The bride broke down again, sobbing loudly, holding her stomach as if her heart was tearing apart inside her. Vanessa turned to her with sorrow in her voice, yet her words carried a sting. So, my dear bride, today you cry because you lost a wedding. But some of us cried because we lost our entire future. The hall erupted again with murmurs, sobs, curses, and gasps. Collins trembled, still kneeling, his lips shaking but no words coming out. His mother wailed, trying to cover him from the fiery stares of the guests. And then another voice rose, sharper, stronger. A woman stepped forward, her heels striking the marble floor like thunder. Her presence alone silenced the room. Her eyes carried rage. Her hands trembled as if holding back violence. My name is Danielle. And what this man did to me is worse than everything you have heard today. The guests froze. The bride sniffled, lifting her head slowly. Even the priest clutched his chest, bracing for what was to come. Danielle's voice grew harder, darker, dripping with venom. He didn't just lie. He destroyed. He came into my life like a savior and left like a hurricane. By the time he was done, he'd not only emptied my bank account, he nearly buried me alive in debts that were not mine. The hall gasped louder, the air boiling with rage. Danielle stepped closer to Collins, pointing a shaking finger at him. Collins, you are not just a liar. You are a devil in a tuxedo. You left me with scars money cannot heal, with wounds no wedding dress can cover. If hell had a face, it would be yours. The hall erupted again, people shouting, some standing, others clapping in anger. The atmosphere changed from whispers of shock to full-blown chaos. And before the noise could settle, the fourth woman stepped forward, her voice already trembling with fury.
My turn. And by the time I'm done, there will be no pity left in this hall for him. The crowd leaned forward, their blood boiling, waiting for another devastating blow. Just as the fourth woman lifted her chin to speak, the bride's father stormed forward too. His agbada flared with his steps, his face red with rage, veins bulging in his neck. He pointed a trembling finger at Collins, his voice thundering across the hall like a lion's roar. "So what do you women want from him?" The hall froze. Silence fell for a moment. All eyes shifted to the 6 women, their gowns glittering under the chandeliers, their faces set like stone. Then, as though rehearsed, their voices rose together in one chilling chorus. "We came here to fulfill his promise by marrying us or refunding every kobo he defrauded us of." The words thundered through the hall like an earthquake. Guests gasped so loudly the sound nearly shook the walls. Someone shouted, "Marry all of you!" Another collapsed into their chair, fanning themselves. The groom's mother screamed, clutching her chest. "Cecil, this is madness!" Collins, still kneeling, lifted his head weakly, his lips trembling. He looked around at the 6 women, circling him like predators around wounded prey. His mouth opened, but no words came, only stammering, broken sounds of shame. The bride, who had been frozen in tears, suddenly staggered to her feet. Her veil slipped completely, her face pale, but her eyes blazing with pain. Her voice cracked as she shouted, trembling with every word. I would have walked out of here. I would have carried my shame quietly, pretending nothing happened. But now..." She clutched her stomach, her tears pouring fresh. The crowd leaned forward, breaths held. "But now I can't, because I am carrying his child." The words dropped like thunder. The hall exploded into chaos. Women screamed. Men shouted. Some fainted. Reporters nearly broke their cameras trying to capture the moment. Chairs screeched as guests jumped to their feet, yelling, clutching their heads, pointing fingers. One guest shouted, "Abomination!" Another screamed, "This man is cursed! This wedding is cursed!" The bride collapsed back onto the altar, holding her stomach, sobbing uncontrollably. Her father clutched his head in both hands, pacing back and forth like a madman. The groom's mother wailed louder, her voice piercing. "No! No! This cannot be! God forbid! My son, what have you done? What demon possessed you?" The 6 women advanced closer, their eyes blazing, their voices rising again. "He must answer! He must pray! He cannot escape this time!" Collins crawled backward on his knees, tears streaming, his face a mask of terror. "Please, please forgive me. I was blinded. I was weak. I didn't mean to..." But his words were drowned by the roar of the hall. The bride's voice cut through it all, loud, broken, but filled with fire. "You didn't mean to. You promised me love. You gave me shame. You promised me forever. You gave me betrayal. You promised me joy, and now you leave me with a child and disgrace." She tore the wedding ring from her finger and threw it at his chest. It bounced off his suit and rolled across the marble floor. The 6 women stood united, their voices like a death sentence. "This is the end, Collins. Either keep your promises or face the judgment you deserve." The cameras flashed. The guests screamed. The chaos swallowed the entire hall. And Collins,
He collapsed fully onto the floor, trembling, his voice whispering like a man facing his grave. God, help me. Just as his mother began to wail uncontrollably, the heavy sound of boots echoed through the hall. Security officers, tall, stern, and unyielding, pushed through the crowd. Their presence alone forced the chatter to hush slightly. The crowd parted as they advanced, eyes wide with fear and anticipation. One of the officers steps forward. His voice cold, precise and unshakable. Collins Kalou, you are under arrest for fraud, scamming, and impersonation. A collective gasp ran through the hall. Even the bride's father froze mid-step, staring in disbelief. The officer's tone remained steady, but every word hit like a hammer. For the past 5 years, law enforcement has been on the lookout for you. Every false promise, every stolen dime, every broken heart, it has all been documented. And now, you face the consequences of your actions. Colin's knees buckled again. He tried to crawl backward, his hands outstretched like he could hold back the officers. No, please, I can explain. I can pay. I can fix it. The officer shook his head, expression unreadable. Anything you say or do will be used against you in the court of law. Do not resist. You will have the opportunity to defend yourself, but the evidence against you is overwhelming. Your lies, your deceit, your destruction, all of it ends here. Colin's mother screamed, rushing forward, but an officer gently pushed her back. She collapsed into a chair, hands covering her face. The 6 women stood tall, their faces cold and unyielding, their voices low but piercing, joined together in the silence left by the officer. Justice, finally. The bride, still clutching her stomach, looked down at Collins with a mixture of fury, sorrow, and vindication. Her voice shook but rang through the hall. You took from us what you could never replace. Today, the world sees you for what you truly are. A liar, a cheat, a monster in a man's body. Collins whimpered, the words barely audible. Please don't, please. The officers grabbed him firmly by the arms. His body went limp in their grip. The crowd surged forward, cameras flashing, phones recording every moment. Reporters shouted questions. Some women cried, others laughed bitterly. The bride's father roared like thunder. Take him away! Take him far from here before I lose my mind! The officers escorted Collins slowly toward the hall exit, the clinking of handcuffs echoing like a death knell. The bride, though shaking, followed their gaze, staring at the man who had almost destroyed her life. And as the doors slammed shut behind him, the hall finally exhaled. Some guests wept, some cheered, but all knew they had witnessed the unmasking of a liar, a thief, and a fraud. The 6 women exchanged silent glances. Their mission, though painful, had been completed. Collins Kalou's empire of lies had collapsed in front of everyone, leaving him exposed, defeated, and powerless. The bride's tears finally turned from heartbreak into a glimmer of strength. She lifted her head, her father embracing her from behind, and in that moment, the hall realized Colin's wedding have become his nightmare. 2 weeks later, the courtroom was silent. The air was thick with tension, every eye fixed on Collins as he stood trembling in front of the judge. His hands shook,
His suit hung loosely on his frame, and his face was pale, drained from weeds of fear, shame, and exposure. The 6 women who had once been his victims sat at the front row, their eyes piercing him with a mixture of anger, pain, and satisfaction. The judge cleared his throat, his gavel raised, ready to bring the hammer of justice down. But Collins raised his hand slightly, his voice soft, breaking, yet carrying a weight that silenced the room instantly. Your Honor, please, allow me to say this before judgment is passed. He paused, swallowing hard, his throat tight. The room leaned in. The cameras, reporters, and even the jury seemed to hold their collective breath. Years ago, he began, his voice low, almost trembling. I finished high school. My parents, they struggled so hard to give me an education. Every dime, every sacrifice, I watched them work, sweat, and pray that I would have a better life than they did. Collins paused, looking down at his shaking hands. Tears glistened in his eyes. But life didn't make it easy for me. 4 years after graduation, I was still roaming the streets, looking for work, doors closing on me, rejection after rejection. I watched my father die from a sickness I couldn't cure, couldn't afford treatment for. I buried him with my own hands in a shameful, lonely ceremony, and I hated myself for my weakness. He took a deep breath, voice shaking with grief, and in that moment of despair, I decided to become what I never thought I could. I became the very thing I swore I would never be. I scammed young women, women who trusted me, women who loved me. I built an empire on lies, on deceit, on stolen wealth and broken hearts. The courtroom murmured. The women in front stiffened, faces a mixture of fury and disbelief. The bride-to-be, Angela, gripped her hands tightly, her knuckles white. My mother, she had no idea what I was doing. She always told me to wait, to trust God's timing. She said, your time will come. For I refused to listen. Mummy, I am sorry. I have brought shame to your name, your life. I have failed you as a son. Colin's head bowed, his voice breaking into a whisper. And to all you women, Pauline, Vanessa, Danielle, and the others, I am sorry. I'm sorry for the pain I caused, for the hearts I broke, for the trust I shattered. Nothing I say can ever fix what I did, but I swear I am sorry, truly. He lifted his head slowly, his gaze locking on Angela, the bride he had almost married. And to you, Angela, my new bride, the woman I was supposed to spend a lifetime with today, I am sorry for deceiving you, for planning a wedding on lies, for the life I stole from you. Please, please forgive me. And please, if you can, keep the baby safe. Give him to my mother. Let her raise him as her child. He deserves love, and he deserves a chance that I never gave him. The courtroom was utterly silent. The courtroom was utterly silent. The judge leaned forward slightly, eyebrows furrowed, but his gavel was still raised. Colin's confession had left everyone stunned. Some were teary, some were frozen in shock, and some of the women let out soft, almost inaudible sighs, their faces softening with the weight of truth. Collins took a shaky breath, his body trembling from exhaustion, fear, and shame. He turned slowly to the judge. Your Honor, you may proceed, sir. I accept whatever punishment the law decides. I am ready to face the consequences of my actions. The judge's gavel tapped once, twice. Reverberating through the silent courtroom, the sound felt heavier than iron, final as a tombstone. Collins sagged. He closed his eyes, tears flowing freely now, for the first time unmasked and completely vulnerable. The women sat quietly, their expressions complex, pain, anger, and perhaps in some corner of their hearts, the faintest flicker of relief. The bride Angela hugged her stomach protectively, her tears a mix of sorrow, fear, but emerging strength. The courtroom had never felt heavier nor more alive. Collins' empire of lies, his web of deceit, had finally caught up with him. The gavel had barely fallen when the courtroom fell into a heavy, tense silence. Collins Carlu stood trembling, his head bowed, hands shaking, awaiting judgment. Then Pauline, the owner of Mendez Corporation, rose from her seat. Her gown shimmered under the courtroom lights, her eyes wet but firm with resolve. Every head turned to her. "Your Honor," she began, her voice steady but soft. "Please, have mercy." A hush fell over the room. Even the judge leaned forward, curious. This man's story, it touches my heart. I know the pain he caused me and so many others, but I see now. I see a broken man, a son who lost his way, a mother who fears for her child, and an innocent life yet to be born. Taking a shaky breath, then continued. I want to plead his case. All the women he has ever defrauded, all of us. Please mention the amounts he owes. I will pay it back, not because of him, but because of his mother and the child he is about to bring into the world. I cannot ignore their innocence in this mess. A ripple of disbelief ran through the courtroom. The remaining 5 women's eyes met one another, and slowly, one by one, the remaining 5 rose. We forgive him, Vanessa said quietly, her voice trembling but firm. Let him go, Danielle added, her eyes softened with compassion. We believe he deserves a second chance, another woman said. Whispers of astonishment ran like wildfire. The power of forgiveness hung over the courtroom like sunlight breaking through clouds. The judge's stern face softened slightly, and he nodded. Angela, the bride, rushed forward, tears streaming down her cheeks. She wrapped her arms tightly around the 6 women. Thank you. Thank you so much, my sisters, she sobbed. You've shown me what mercy, compassion, and courage truly mean. I don't know how to repay you for this, for saving my heart and my child. Pauline patted Angela's back gently, her voice kind yet firm. Angela, sometimes forgiveness is the only way to heal. Today we choose healing over hatred. The remaining women nodded in agreement, their expressions soft but proud. Collins, still trembling, glanced at them with tears streaming freely down his face. He fell to his knees, voice barely audible. I don't deserve this, but thank you, all of you. I will spend the rest of my life making it right. Angela smiled through her tears, holding her stomach protectively, and whispered, Go ahead, Collins. Go and be the man you promised you could be. And this child will know a father's love and a mother's strength. The courtroom was quiet now, not from tension, but from the weight of the moment. The power of forgiveness, the mercy of hearts softened, and the possibility of a new beginning. For the first time that day, Collins felt hope stir in the depths of his soul. And for Angela,
The warmth of sisterhood, compassion, and courage filled her chest like the sun breaking through a long, stormy night. The women shared a small, knowing smile. The bride held her child close, whispering a soft prayer of gratitude. The story of lies, betrayal, and heartbreak had ended, not with vengeance, but with mercy, love, and the promise of redemption. And hello, my beautiful viewers. What a roller coaster of emotions today. Betrayal, heartbreak, and finally, forgiveness. Collins's story reminds us that even the darkest paths can find light, and mercy has the power to heal the deepest wounds. Tell me, my besties, if you were in Angela's shoes, would you forgive him too? Drop your thoughts in the comments in your own language. I'm dying to read them. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories filled with drama, twists, and emotions that hit right in the heart. Until next time, keep your heart strong and your eyes open for life's surprises.